Well, this is the behind the scenes anyway, right?
It is behind the scenes,
Yeah.
yes. Behind the scenes. That's what this is.
This is it. This is creator mode.
It is creator mode. Yep, we're not even going to edit this out because this is our first ever recording of the Solos podcast. First ever episode.
Groundbreaking.
First time we got to brainstorm and do activities in person today, earlier before this.
Yeah.
And we're realizing that this beginning phases is just going to be an insight and transparent look into how we're coming together and how the process is helping us unfold and helping us integrate and the things that we're being called to from jumping into this space. And then of course we're going to explain what Solos is to each other because we're still figuring that out as well. So it's a fun little beginning phase that we're at, and we're glad to have anybody join us for this first episode.
It's like we already have the answers, but we need to go through the process to uncover the answers. It's like a fun little game for what gets uncovered at the right time.
Yeah.
Because it could go in any direction. There's many places to start, but it's like the fun of just having it unfold with our slight nudges in different directions. I like it.
Yeah. And it started with us as the men's group. It's like that's the idea that brought us together in this project and building it. And even just in the last couple of weeks of focusing on it, we're realizing, oh, the men's group is a big part of it, and it's going to be at the core of it. And there's much more that we can do with this. And so it's like exercising our limitations and what kind of expectations do we have around all of this.
Yeah. I feel like we should go into a little origin story to start off. So I remember when you first you messaged me that you kind of saw us doing this together. It started with the men's group. You said, I see us connecting over this men's group. And I remember I wanted to let that sink in. I was excited that you reached out and I saw the potential right away, but I'm wondering if you could share your, like, how that birthed out of you, that idea, how you received that.
Well, the last year, I mean, I was in men's groups, a men's group when I was in the beginning of my awakening journey. So I had like 4 friends that we were in a group with. We read books and it really helped. But the thing that helped was like having men to hold accountable, like having men and friends to hold me accountable, for me to hold myself accountable with, to like, it was all about radical accountability. And so that men's group helped me do that. And it helped me admit things when I was still keeping secrets. It helped me move through a lot of stuff. And so I knew that eventually that was going to be something that was really important and really integral along the path. I just knew that the timing, like we're saying, the timing had to be appropriate, and that what I was also saying to you is like I didn't want to do it by myself. It wasn't like I'm going to start this men's group and be the one who runs it and do all of this together. It's like the point of why we're here is to collaborate again. And all of us being here on this planet is to collaborate. And so it was like I was just kind of waiting for the right connection in order for that to happen, because I knew that I couldn't handle it alone and that I didn't want to. And so there were like a few different times where I kind of like threw it out there in conversation with people, and it was just like, yeah, that's cool, like sweet, and it just kind of like fizzled out. And then you and I were connected over a period of a few months, and I could just feel how like dedicated you were to your curiosity and to devotion itself and to life and to all of these things. And I just like I vibed with the way that we were talking and the way that the relationship was going, and your insights and your questions and everything you were bringing to the table. So it was just like an intuitive, like, now is the time to capitalize on the men's group, and he's the one to ask to see if he wants to do it with you. So it was just like, okay, this is the next step. And I was very clear. I was like, no pressure. Like, if you want to say no, like, that's all good. I never want to like force anything on anyone or try to like lure people in and stuff like that, give them this whole vision and like, you want to come do this. It's more like a simple, like, this is what the idea is. It's like a grassroots thing. Like, do you want to build? And I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing, is like being down to build something. And
Yes.
so that's what the vibe was that I felt. It was like,
Mm.
we've done this together as souls. Like, I'm feeling us come together in this life of like, we want to build something together. And
Yeah.
so it really just felt right,
Yeah.
listening to the intuition.
Yeah. Same with receiving it on the other side, because there's a whole other episode about my previous history, but I've been a coach for 5 years, but it wasn't like I felt like I wasn't hitting on what I should be doing. So it was almost like that was the training period. And this year especially, I felt like I should be doing more men's work or men's group stuff, and then there was no container for it, or no, like, I didn't feel moved to act with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so aligned when you reached out. I was like, so, like, both ends, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, and that's how it works. That's
Yeah.
how it operates,
Yeah.
and we're bringing that energy into the creation of this, which is
Mm-hmm.
really fun to experience and go through.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a game changer for
It
what
is.
happens after that.
It definitely is. And it's like the simultaneous, like, you were desiring it, I was desiring it. There's probably a whole bunch of other souls who were desiring it. So it's like we're hearing the collective prayer as
Mm,
like this is where things are meant for the next step. And then the next step starts to open up, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is the potential for what
yeah.
we could be working on here. But then we can't get lost in the potential. So we have to make sure that we're using the process as this, like, how can we integrate completely, so that then the architecture and the build and the organization is based off of our integration together.
Yeah.
So it's like we're focused on us first almost, and it's like
Yeah.
then everything will be good from there, but we
Right.
just have to make sure we get that right.
Yeah. We talked a lot about integration the last couple of days, so
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you could speak to the importance of that word, and also like what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think integration, it's the same coin as embodiment. So you have embodiment and integration, and they're two sides of the same coin. And when I first got into my awakening process, I um when I first started getting into like the kind of higher dimensional level, like the galactic stuff,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to float away when you get into that space. And so I was very fortunate to have a session with these like guides, these
Mm,
Pleiadian guides, and they came through and their message was really simple. And they said, you need to focus on embodiment. That's it, embodiment. Like, you don't have to focus on anything else right now. Just embody
mm,
what you're experiencing. And so I was like, okay, that's easy. Like, embodiment, I don't need to build these things, I don't need to do this stuff,
mm,
like I just need to embody what I'm saying. So then it was like, well, how do I do that? What is embodiment?
yeah.
And it's like, okay, I actually have to be the example of the things I'm speaking about. Like, I can't
Mm,
just reiterate books, I can't reiterate information. I have to be the example. And I was very good at picking up on information, channeling things. I was in those beginning stages. So I started realizing I wasn't fully integrated in the
mm,
things that I was talking about. Some of the time I would make Instagram videos, I
yeah.
would do things, and I would review it, and I'd be like, do I feel like I am living
Uh,
that like I'm saying, or is this just advice for myself? Like, and so it became like I'm giving a lot of advice to myself right now. So I need to take it back even more and just integrate and embody.
mm,
And so it was very easy because it became less pressure. It was
mm,
like, I don't have to get this thing done. I don't have to have this
okay.
outcome, this product to then give to these people yet.
Mm,
It's like I just need to embody. And so
yeah.
that really allowed me to cut out the noise, to cut out any of the like, oh, I'm posting on Instagram, I realize I'm not being the example, I
Mm,
stopped posting on Instagram for a year. Like, that's
mm,
what happened. I didn't
yeah.
look at it for a year. It was like, and so that's the relationship with integration to me. It's like it's the core of what it means to be living a spiritual life,
Mm,
but it's the aspect of being the example and being aware enough to know when you have an example that you could be being, that you're not being. And so, like what we've talked about, how people go to retreats, they get all this information, and then they go home and it's their work life now, and then their
mm,
spiritual life is here and it's like cut off. And so for me, it's always been like my best friend. And then I kind of snapped out of it after a while and noticed that there was this kind of floaty
mm,
vibe in the spiritual space, if
Right.
that's what we want to say. And so I kind of had the realization that integration wasn't at the core of everybody else's desire. They were looking at these other things. And so it's allowed me to really reframe what's important. And
Mm.
then it's allowed me to then gauge where other people are at. So like with you, it's like you were focused on integration, you integrate, you are very devoted to that.
Mm.
So that's the feeling that I get when I'm around people, and I can then tell, oh, this person's not very focused on integration. So it's become like my main lens, my
Yeah.
main perception lens to look through,
Right.
basically.
Mm. Yeah, and we can kind of relate that
Mm-hmm.
to the ethos of solos, right? In
Mm-hmm.
a way. I feel like that's the main thing. Like we want to attract people to, not attract people, but people who are aligned with that principle
Mm-hmm.
will understand what it is that we're building here, because that's the basis of it,
Mm-hmm.
is to be embodied, because that's authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be who you say you are, but also to speak and use your voice to express like the experiences that you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the cool part, the experiences that you've been through, like it's not like you got to go out seeking them. They're exactly what you're experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually cloaked in some sort of annoyance, but it's that principle, like be where you are
Mm-hmm.
and be in your body,
Mm-hmm.
that leads to the alignments.
Mm-hmm.
And this is proof of that, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like that's the thing that brought us together, is being vulnerable around those experiences.
Yeah.
So that then we could be in a group with these other men and we could all be vulnerable and realize like we teach through the vulnerability of our
Mm.
experiences too. And it's that simple. We have
Right.
all of them there, and we're just kind of scared to really present ourselves in the muck
Right.
of it. But that's the fun part,
That's
I
it
think,
right
is
there.
that people don't realize it's like it's so great to be able to just be in that space and just not care what
Yeah.
people think. It's like, yeah, cool, this thing's happening with my body. This thing, like it's just like
Right.
it is what it is. And so my question for you is like, what hurdles around integration did you experience at the beginning? And then there's a second part to that question, but I'll hold that off.
Yeah, I think in my experience, and I would assume this is the case for most, that pain is a part of the integration and embodiment experience. And for so long, I resisted pain, or I turned a blind eye to it. It wasn't something that I wanted to pay attention to. But the embodiment is feeling through the pain, and then there's something I don't know, miraculous that happens once you do that. That's where you find like deeper levels of your own emotional self. Uh, and I don't know how else to describe that, but
Is there a specific type of pain that was more difficult to work through? Or was it just kind of the smorgasbord
yeah,
of it all?
I think it was the smorgasbord, but there was probably more related than I understood at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think emotional pain can be connected to physical pain and can be connected to emotional, mental pain. So it was all those at different times, but sometimes all at the same time. And it was just letting that be the reality, like resisting it for so long and pushing it off, and then just being honest about what was there. And part of that process of integration is like letting things come up that are really uncomfortable and painful at times. And so it was learning that process. There's no timetable or number of days you can put on that. It was like it's going to take this long for you to learn this. It's like I have to be okay feeling this way for the rest of my life, is what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, that's the surrender.
It's the surrender, complete surrender to it. And then then you're aligning yourself to the natural cycle of what you're supposed to be going through.
And did you find it was easier to integrate stuff by yourself
Mm.
or being in a group, or just a clear distinction between the two?
Yeah, well, there's a relationship, but there's also a separation there, because no one's coming to save us. So in a way, we're the only ones that can do our journey. So there's a lot of solo stuff in solitude, reflecting on things, feeling through things, being honest about why you want to connect with other people. Usually there's an energetic, suctioning, or you gain your life force or your highs from other people. So to learn to use your own body and your own self to do that is that's like the calibration that's needed. But yeah, and then there might be like a limitation with how much you can do by yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like being seen in the process actually becomes just as important,
Mhm.
and allowing yourself to be seen.
Yes,
Yeah,
because that's the completion of integration. It's like when you can see yourself that way, you've reached a state. And then when you are seen by others in acceptance, it's like that's the thing that
hmm,
creates the integration. Like you can
yeah,
speak on something that's been shameful and people will listen and not judge you for it. And then that part starts to integrate. It's
yeah,
like, oh, I can be more of this now and just express it. And I think that's key too in what we're building here. And what I love about the name Solos and what you pointed out when we first brought it up, how it has solo in
yeah,
it. And so, and you just said solo. And so it's like we're representing both, like the solo aspect of it, but we are plural in the being solo. And so we're all coming together to own that individuality to then contribute it to the group, but we
yeah,
can't contribute it to the group if we're dimming ourselves or
right,
holding ourselves back. And I think a big thing for me was when I was in a group, in a community, in a physical retreat, I would then come home and you get that kind of like sinking feeling. You're not getting those highs as much anymore. But I would bring the perspective of the group with me
mm,
back home. And so the next time I would go through something that's like, I need to accept, I need to admit, I need to hold myself accountable. It's like, well, how would I be held right now if these people were in front of me and I was like talking to them? And I feel like that's a big intention of what Solos
yeah,
is like coming together as a group, but recognizing that we have to be able to stand strong individually.
mm,
And that's what the group is for. And it's like this kind of two-way
yeah,
street. It like bounces back and forth.
yeah. The group is basically a mirror for you looking yourself in the eye,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in the mirror, can I,
Mm-hmm.
how are my decisions sitting with me today? How am I,
Yeah.
how is it showing up? How am I showing up? How is that sitting with me?
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah, I think I just realized that as you were describing it, that um you can't integrate on your own because there's no like with what or with who. The
Mm-hmm.
integration is with other people because
Yeah.
that's how we see ourselves and that's how they see us.
Yes, the perception of it. And
Yeah.
it's like one of my favorite quotes is from Cloud Atlas. It's a book and a movie, and it's to be is to be perceived, because to know thyself is only possible through the eyes of the other.
Mm,
And like I think
so
it's
true.
just like it hits so deep every time I think of it because it's the function of polarity,
Right.
being the other, recognizing this idea of the other, but then seeing yourself through their eyes. But if they're seeing you through shame when you're a child,
Mm,
then you start to see yourself through the eyes of the other. So you
right.
take that whole complex on. And so it's like, I think you might have answered it a little bit, but my second part to that question was,
Mhm.
what hurdles do you not experience now,
Do I
that
not experience now?
not experience anymore, that you did experience in the beginning
Yeah.
that aren't really happening as much now?
Yeah, I think there is so much more of an openness to be who I am, like who the
Mm-hmm.
fuck I am.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's like unapologetic, whereas
Yeah.
before it was a lot of like, and this is maybe just maybe some people can relate to this and others not, but like the people pleasing or the approval seeking
Mm-hmm.
and not having that be like the main mode of operation was like, well, if it's not that, what is it? I've operated from that lens for so long, I don't even know what it would feel like.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's a gradual process to this point. To now it's where there's still vulnerability and things that
Mm-hmm.
I'm fearful of that
Mm-hmm.
I work through, but it's recognizing that everything I'm experiencing is normal,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a great power in sharing and being unapologetic for what you're going through or who you are or the
Mm-hmm.
way that you are seeing things currently.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone who's just coming into like a free men's group call for the first time,
Yeah.
and they're very interested in what this is, but they feel that resistance to the integration part because they don't really know what they feel resistance to,
Yeah.
but they feel it. Like, what perspective would your questions would you offer them?
What questions would I offer them? Yeah, what weighs more for you? Like pushing through the resistance and getting to whatever this is for you, greater well-being, more joy, like whatever it is that you seek in life, or this mystery. It's more of like the mystery of the unknown that you don't know what's going to unfold.
Mm-hmm.
So this side of the scale is so key because it's required along the way, but I don't want to say like I'm not making anybody do it, but there's a level at a certain point where you just have to trust that like there's a giving into the control, and like I'm not in control anymore. Like use me how you want to use me. So that's part of the process. If you're nervous or unsure, and maybe even not willing to share right away, there's no pressure to do that. It's just more about being present, and you being a witness is just as important as being witnessed sometimes.
I love that. That's perfect. You being a witness. I'm gonna write that quote down, actually.
That's gonna happen
You
from time to
being,
time.
yeah, you being a witness is just as important as being witnessed. Love it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So important in the infrastructure of this, and what it's going to be is, yeah, how it's created. So I want you to talk about, because we talked about the name Solos, the importance of like the mathematics behind it, and the not the synchronicity, the what am I looking for? The mirror. It wraps around the letters SOLO.
Oh, palindrome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's what it's
yeah,
called.
yeah.
Chat GPT reminded me that's what it was called the other day. It's like, oh, you're saying a palindrome. It's like, shut up, Chad.
It says it like that. It uses that voice when it talks to you.
Yes, it does every time. It's like, hey, Brian,
Yeah.
you're talking about a palindrome. Yes, the supersymmetry effect.
Yes, symmetry. That was
Yes, symmetry.
yeah.
Yes, because we talked about that in Sacred Sound in the group course we did, and talking about it in terms of frequency, and how words can have supersymmetry depending on how you view them, how you can kind of speak them and say them. And so the process of the palindrome is that it's the same forward and backwards. And the interesting thing about solos is that you can start to get the up and down effect too with the S and the O. Like we're getting very interesting geometric relationships with the SOLOS, because S and O, if you flip it upside down, they still are kind of the same. And so then we have the L in the center,
You can make
which
a lowercase L.
yeah, we definitely could, which is like the straight, the vertical rod, the vertical
It's the
pillar
mirror for both sides.
Exactly. And then it's also, you could flip the L upside down and around, so it's like the frame, it's the square aspect. So it's like I see the formation of it like a figure eight, like what you were drawing earlier. It's like the function of it is like solos. It's like no matter how you say it, it's going to come out the same. And I think that represents all roads leading up the same mountain to the same spot, but recognizing in that mathematics that all of the roads that we could possibly take are God, and that we have to recognize the collaboration that we're working with the infrastructure of our body and the technology of the planet, because that's what a new build is with a new reality. We have this whole ecosystem of the economy and the entertainment industry and the food systems and the healthcare systems, and all of that's creating an energetic movement. It's a system, it's a function, but those a lot of times are built without the help of God, without the help of love, of unconditional love, and without the recognition that the things we're experiencing around us are aspects of our family, of that infrastructure. So it's like the trees are the infrastructure, the planet itself is the infrastructure, the mycelium network is the infrastructure, the clouds, the planets, like the stars, our body, it's all based in our DNA. And so we are the map that we're creating. But I think, as you'll share from the beautiful thing you wrote with the drawing earlier about the eternalness of what we're building, we've had this map collected within us before and within our soul. And so the more we recognize the precision of how to work with the bodies that are around us, then the more we're, I don't want to say outsourcing, because it's not like a company who builds something in the United States and then starts outsourcing to India for their customer service. It's like we're anchoring into the foundation of what that ecosystem is, and then using the guidance of the planet, of the elements, of the guardians and the spirits and the animals, because that's who we're building this for. Like, we aren't just building this for us,
Right.
because you want to build something, because I want to build something, because we want like other people to have fun. Like, that's all great, but the planet needs this.
Yeah.
Like, this is a directive from the planet for what has been out of balance up until this point. And so the more we can use the building process as the spiritual understanding process, then the more we're kind of fusing those two things together. And I think the mathematics becomes more simple. It's you're adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplying always throughout our day. So it becomes more of the very subtle, how am I adding anxiety or workload or pressure on you? Maybe I'm noticing that you are having a difficult day or something, and so then I need to know not to add more onto you. And so it's just about recognizing the precision of the flow, I think, and that's what it's coming down to, is embracing what the flow really is, not us dictating what it is, but feeling the flow and letting that then dictate the movement of it.
And that's the difference between what exists now and what we see existing. Is that things right now, if they're not calibrated to God or love, are calibrated to something, an object or a human that has, I'll say flaws, but just because it's not aligned to God.
Yes.
So that's like the indicator that businesses, for example, are not aligned with the planet, is that there's pollution. Like, they make goods like in the organic way, there's no pollution, and if you build it in alignment with what's there.
Exactly. And we have such deep conditioning to what we currently have that we then don't hold ourselves accountable to the potential that we can actually build. So we think like, okay, we'll go through this healing, we go through this process of connecting, and then we figure out how to plug it back into this thing. And that's a lot of like what's happening right now. But it's like,
there's no alternative.
Exactly.
What else do I do?
And so it's like trusting in the alternative and trusting in that you are being called to usher in that alternative, I think. And that's where that pain process really, I think, comes in, because then we think of the alternative. It's like, well, fuck, we're going to get arrows shot at us and rocks thrown at us and names thrown. It's like all of this stuff starts to come up because we feel the fear of that kind of pain of the collective metamorphosis needing to happen through us, I guess.
Yeah, and what you're attached to collapsing, right?
Yes.
And not, all your safeguards and all the ways that you cope with things are all part of that same system. So yeah, what you're seeing, like as far as other people, is the product of the systems that have been there till now. And it's no wonder that there's been nothing to, unless somebody creates it, right, or receives it. And that's why we're moving away from, like, what do businesses represent now? Competition. You made a video recently that talks about like GDP and like the reason that businesses exist. It's all to make money, right? How is that aligned with God or with love? There's a misalignment there that this is ushering in.
Yeah, because it's just about the shallowness of it. And if you then go to the next dimensional layer, which is like, oh, the secret side of things, it's like we all know there's this economy, and then we realize there's a bunch of secret groups running weird underbelly dark economies, that it's like, well, they're doing that from a dimensional desire. They want to siphon that energy, because money corresponds to an energetic substance as well. So where the money is, the people's creative energy is. So where the money goes is where the sexual energy goes. And it's the current, literally the current of the sea. The water element in our sacral chakra is the currency. And so they use that like we're fish to make schools of fish follow like the shiny light. And so money can be aligned when it is not really putting profit. This is interesting to come up, because I used to think profit was the problem. I used to think like, if a company is dedicated to profit over unconditional love and oneness first, then that's where the issue comes in. And I started to look at profit as kind of like the enemy. But then I started realizing, well, there can be profit but it just can't knock things out of alignment. Because if the intention is to use that profit
Yeah.
to then give back to the planet, then it's a completely different story than the profit polluting the oceans black,
Yeah.
you know?
So it's why the intention behind it
Yes.
matters almost as much as all, like the intention is the infrastructure.
Yes.
And so that's why it's important that part of this process that you and I are going through right now is declaring, receiving the intention for what are we doing this for?
Exactly.
Why is this here?
The why.
Right.
The why. And I think sometimes the why can be a little bit different than the intention itself, but the intention is to get to the why.
Right.
Always. And that like and I think it is important at the beginning to not have muddy eyes on it. You know, it's like because we can create different systems. We can find different forms of currency, of money, of exchange, of things. And so that's part of the trusting in the new world is like if I focus on my intention first, then the money will provide and fulfill that intention. And so I think for me, individually coming into the men's group itself was why being radical accountability and why being what is the true level of accountability that men can hold themselves at. So at the men level, it's like seeing the issues with the patriarchy and the toxic masculinity. And it's like, well, why and then there's other whys that then come up from that.
Sure.
But I guess the intention is to show that men can hold themselves radically accountable like that. And it doesn't have to be this horrible process of that like kind of happening. And so really it's like the why is the heart. It's the function of the masculine heart. And then when we came together and then all the other stuff started opening up of like, oh, we have this to play with and this to play with and this to play with. The why is really just like love. Like it always comes back to just why. So that unconditional love can be experienced.
Yeah. Very well said. And there's an interesting component with it. You talked about the masculine. So there's also something happening with the feminine. And like where, this is a very, it started with the men's group, which is interesting. But one of the themes of the men's group is sacred union.
Yes.
Which is, I think important to always define because it has some loaded vocabulary alongside it. But it's basically just the balance of the energies, the polarities, the masculine and feminine, which we're all made up of, whether we're in a masculine body or a feminine body. So that's like part of that's what we seek, I believe, is the balance. Because why don't you speak to that? So if that's something that we're aiming for, why is that a good thing? Like what happens when
because it's like that's part of the problem with polarity, I think, is that men see themselves as men, they're a masculine being, and then females are the feminine being. But we have wherever there's a masculine, there's a feminine. Wherever there's a feminine, there's a masculine in terms of energies. And so, like you're saying, we have that mix within us at all times. And so, very simply put, it's like we can't know ourselves in fullness until we have an idea of that lens of perception, because that's where we then get the parents. It's like, oh, our relationship with our feminine is through our mom, primary, and then our dad. And then the relationship with the masculine is through the dad, primary, but then the mom.
Right.
And so it's like we have this flip-flop thing happening. And then when we look at both of those sides, we have an extra point in the middle, like the Holy Trinity. Like what you're going to share with that, which was so perfect. It's like we have to exercise all the lenses. And so we have this first lens, which is a masculine body of a masculine being. And then we go up, we go to 2. We have 1 and 2 lenses. And so now we have the feminine, and then we have 3, which is we're in the center. We have the feminine and the masculine. And so it's like a dimensional process that works itself up. But at its core, very core, is that if you are seeking to live a joy-filled life, you have to have both of these things being worked on and being integrated. And that's, I think, at the core as well of a simple why is like, I just want everyone to live in love and that unconditional love being there. It's like, it doesn't have to be this overcomplicated process of all these different problems, all these different things. It's like, what if it is just so people can truly feel the essence of their heart once again. And that started with men because we're men, and that's where we're being called to kind of go into, because it's like that is then going to expand into all of these other layers. And in order to have a strong relationship with the planet is a feminine type of being. So that begins our openness with connection with the planet. And I feel like I'm kind of rambling.
No,
Did that answer it?
Yeah, no, that's good. Although I did lose my train of thought.
Yeah,
Follow up with
I think it's just about the intention and the why, and I think we're still kind of figuring out how to articulate that. There's a lot of different floating things, and once we say this intention, then this other intention sounds good, and so we're kind of like piecing it together. But it's like, for you, what does Solos represent? What does that frequency strike within you?
You're asking me?
Yes.
I made a piece of artwork.
There you go. Might as well just start with that. Yeah.
All right. So this is, I feel like I need to deliver a caveat that I'm not a good artist, but I'm not going to do that.
No.
Because this was just received. I'm just going to hold this up here. So it's just like a shield sort of thing. And there's some numerology built into, basically the numbers 1 through 9 are represented in these shapes and the way that it's designed. All right. So should we describe how we enter this process?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to describe it?
Yeah. So your lovely wife does an art class, and she recorded. Is it going to be available for sale? Or
yeah. It should be available it will be available by the time this episode comes out.
So, but she leads you through basically an intuitive art session.
Yes.
And there are different energies that she taps into and ways that she frames the course, and then you kind of receive what it is to draw here. So it was fun. It was very interesting.
It's great. And like whenever I have done it just with her, when she does the class, I always feel myself integrate. And it's like the things that are floating around in my head and my body, I don't have to think, and it's just my body just does it, and it just kind of puts it on paper. And so it's a really good way to de-scramble kind of like the emotions in the mind.
It's kind of like a check-in, like what's in there.
Yeah, and exactly.
How do you
and then what you said too, I just want to touch on, like, my fucking drawings aren't like, it looks like I'm in third grade when I do this. Like, and it's funny because I do geometry drawings with tools that are really, really precise and like really, really detailed. And so it's been a big integration process for me to step in and not feel like I'm in like a state of mastery in it. And the first few ones, I was like, oh my God, like this looks like this is why I don't do this. I just like my tools. And then now I'm to the point where it's like, fuck it. This is what's coming out. it's like I'm in second grade. I'm just grabbing crayons and colored pencils and doing that. So I think that's the point of the integration too, is like, this is what's coming out. I'm not fucking, it is. That's what it is. And so let's hear the beautiful words.
Well, and before I do that, I just want, like, that's fun though. That's the whole point. Like we were kind of sitting in silence drawing our objects, but like at different points I would just break out laughing. Like,
yes.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun to do
and
that.
That's the point of bringing the heart back into the space. Because when you think of building businesses, building realities, building these things, it becomes so much pressure.
Spreadsheets and
and it becomes so much pressure. And it's like you gotta have at the core of it just play and fun. And that the process of building something serious can be fun throughout the entire thing.
Yes. All right, so this message came through at the end, and I just wrote it on the back of this, so I'm just going to read this out. It says, Solos was established in 2025, but the materials with which it was built exist outside of time. So when was it really built? Solos is a blueprint. It only got to be a blueprint because it was received that way. It is an alignment of the cosmic order whose makeup is based in mathematics. All mathematics is the marking of cyclical completion points. One is a completion point of the all. 2 is a completion point of polarity, masculine and feminine. 3 is a completion point for the Holy Trinity, and so on. Since alignment is always in motion, we are always calibrating to these sacred rhythms, and that's what Solos is.
I love it. And our theme for our first building week together is a part of it is the law of rhythm. And so how do you feel like that inspired the things that came up on the paper and the writing?
Yeah, it's funny the way that it unfolded. I just got the initial images, and then as I began drawing it, the next thing came out. So what it feels like to me is, and I don't know if I've ever contemplated that before, but how like we're always in alignment with one of those rhythms, 2, 3, 4, 5, like the 1 through 9 and 10 and back around again. So the idea that the calibration is always in motion, because everything's always in motion, is it made a lot of sense, and I feel like to be able to leave a 3 alignment and go to a 4, just to make it really, grounded, feels uncomfortable, right? Because there's an element of, I was in this rhythm, it felt good, and then all of a sudden I'm in another rhythm. I don't know where I am in that rhythm.
Yes.
So part of the fun is like re-identifying and getting better at like the transition points between the rhythms, because then you're just like syncing up with everything. And then before you know it, you're not even trying doing it, and you're just doing it afterwards.
Yeah. Harmony.
Right.
Basically.
You're in harmony.
And that's what I think the basis of what is needed is everyone coming together in harmony and recognizing that we can experience conflict, but still ultimately the end outcome is harmony through whatever is being brought into the kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum.
You know what I just realized is harmony can only exist when you're at like if you feel like people who have done the work or healed or gone through the pain, they can express themselves in a way that inspires others to get to that point too. So it's when everybody's up here expressing their own unique, authentic energy, like their own interpretation of the God energy.
Yes.
Is the harmony. That's what it is.
Yes.
And that's the cool part, to be able to see people in that.
Yes.
Because we so seldom feel comfortable even showing people that. And then it might make us uncomfortable if we see other people in that energy.
Exactly. Because it triggers all of that within us. Yeah.
And so that's the beauty of this process, is that there's going to be triggers. Like that's part of being in a men's group.
Yeah.
We trigger each other, but at the core, as long as there's that love there, then you're treating it in a way where everybody kind of benefits. It's like it's builds up for everyone.
Yes. And it's funny because that's the basis of the masculine relationship up until now that we're dealing with too, is the ram. Literally Aries, the ram, who is the god of war, butting heads with itself. And so it's like the masculine beings haven't been in sacred union with the masculine beings. I didn't even really think about it like that. Like I was thinking of all the men in sacred union individually, and then the men come together, and then there's more harmony created. But I didn't think of just masculine, like being in sacred union with itself, because that's represented by the individual, I guess. But it's a very interesting thing for sacred union to be at the core intention of a masculine group. I find that funny. I find that very ironic, but so it's like the epitome of what we're wanting to bring back in. It's like not pushing so far into the masculine side of things and going back into like the love, the compassion, the love, and the love doesn't even have to be labeled as feminine. That's the thing. We've gotten so distinct. It's like, oh, the love and the compassion is feminine, and the power and the strength is the masculine. But it's like, what about a female who has immense power and strength, and it like, is that her masculine energy or is that her energy? So it just starts to blend together at some point. And I think that's what is, and that's what men are needing right now, even if they don't really realize they need it. But you said God, and I want to take it back to that, because in the first men's group we did, I did an opening prayer, and I decided to leave out an aspect of God. Like the line would go, we offer ourselves to God in this agreement. So I could feel that there might have been some people on the call who weren't really in that God space. So I left that out. And I said, like, we offer ourselves to our true self or love or something like that. And then I made it a point to say, like, you don't have to believe in God or be dedicated to that to be on this call and to get support. And that is true. That is very true. You don't have to have any specific beliefs or any perspectives that are required to come on to these men's calls or to participate in anything we're building. And we've kind of started to realize that God is also the point. And God is literally the reason why this is being called together. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's such a loaded because we all were raised to perceive God in a certain way, and a lot of those were toxic, and sometimes not purposely toxic. Like for an example, a parent taking their child to church because it's good ethics and morals. So the intentions are good behind it, but what the church teaches about God might not be the whole truth. We'll put it that way. So there's something that is carrying this energy forward. There's somewhere that we came from, even. And it's a mystery, and that's why it's such a risk to label it as God, because people think of man in the sky. So maybe it's helpful to define God in a way that keeps it open and undefined.
Yes, I think that's the most important thing. And like tenet number one, I'm starting to write out these kind of tenets, which my idea was like, if what could a spiritual awakening manual, like anyone who's going, it's at the very beginning, they get handed this, it's like,
Did you say 10?
No, I could do 10.
Why
Could
is it
do 10 commandments.
commandments?
I'm gonna write the new 10 commandments. But similar to that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
more like less of the oppressive side of things. And it's like it's literally exactly what you said though. It's that tenet number one, what you are seeking is God. There is no way around that. And you have to reframe your definition of God in order to fit the truth and to fit what resonates with you, because at the same time you can't just define God as anything you want, because that's the problem that we're having. So we have to find a frame point to be able to understand what God is without going into the man in the sky who's going to smite you and send you to hell.
Right. Yeah, so this will be fun to watch how we receive that unfold over the next few weeks, because that is like, not that the pressure point, like we have to get that right, but like that's the point of it.
And we'll get feedback, and when we do calls with people, like I think it's important to ask these questions too with people, like someone who doesn't believe in God or doesn't think that they're not focused on that. It's like, what are your resistance, like what do you hate about this, what do you not like about this, and being able to start really expressing that too, because that's where I think the God of War comes in, is when we have these issues with the definition of God, but then we don't ever get a chance to express them. And so then we start getting angry at life, we start getting angry with the way things are going, and we start to then open ourselves up to potentially reframing the definition of God to be a negative type of thing.
Yeah.
So what has your relationship with God been like growing up?
I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to church every Sunday, and then had intermittent bouts of like Saturday school. They call it CCD school. I don't even remember what that stood for. Catholic something something. So on the days that I was free from school, I was in another prison of learning about God. So I resented it from the beginning because it threatened my freedom. So already it was behind the eight ball, and then I never really resonated with the teachings of it. Yeah, it didn't land with me. Even like I don't know, some of the better parts, like the community aspect. I guess I appreciated that, but it wasn't like a draw for me. Like, oh, I can't wait to go to church so I can hang out with people. And there certainly wasn't a feeling of like, all-encompassing love. Although they preached that, I didn't. It was like an awkward feeling, awkward for me. So that was me growing up. So that I feel like that's a very common story for people to leave God or the understanding, right? To get away from what it was attached to. But then eventually something brought me back to like re-examine what that relationship was.
So what was that like when you started then going through the later on spiritual awakening of bumping up against God? What was that kind of dynamic like?
Yeah. I'm thinking, because there's different segments of the journey. There was, I think the very first one that was significant for me was experiencing a bit of like sleep paralysis and encountering a spirit energy.
A heavy spirit energy or a positive one?
Positive.
Oh, okay.
And I soon after experienced the negative one, but the positive one, and it was indescribable. It was unexplainable. So at that point, it was like, okay, like what the fuck's going on here? Like, all right, but like the things I can define in science and all that, like there's no way. Like I know what I felt, I know what I saw with that experience. So that was one where it opened me back up to like what else is out there, like what's happening here. So that was the initial one.
And I just lost my train of thought. Forgot what I was.
Relationship with God.
Yeah, with God, it's the like the ineffability of it, like not being able to articulate it or to explain it is really, it's the essence of what it is. But then it's almost like we have to be kicked from that dark side sometimes, to reinforce the positive aspect of it. And I'm in never any way saying that good it can only exist with evil.
Sure.
I will never say that. But what we're dealing with, and the only way to deal with the darkness or the negativity in a positive way,
Yeah.
is to recognize it as it being that catalyst.
Right.
And so once we get that taste of the freedom of love, of protection, then we kind of got to get it like kicked further into trust of like, this is the truth
Right.
over here. And so really just like, I think so this is what I was going to ask. So did you go really into like a science side of things at all, or like a atheism trying to explain away God ever? Or was it just kind of like, what was that like?
No, I think it was just an absence in my life.
Okay.
It was a chase of survival of playing the game of succeeding and climbing corporate ladders.
Mhm.
You know, money was a core of it because immediately I needed to pay bills out of graduating college and all that. So it wasn't a thing for me.
Mhm.
But I think what you're saying is like, well, here's what I was thinking when you were speaking is like, if you reverse engineer it, so say you're one with God and you've achieved, you know, that level, that state. If you unwind it, you know, you can look at the steps that led to that. There's like this surrender mode. People don't surrender if their life is average or going well.
Yeah.
So there's a like to experience and embody surrender and the need to surrender. You know, it's not a coincidence that people find God when they have terminal cancer or when it's so clear that they're not in control of what they thought they were in control of.
Yes.
And so that surrender is beautiful in a way. I'm not saying suffering or death is beautiful,
Yeah.
but there is the recognition. Like I can feel myself getting emotional just talking about it because there's such beauty in realizing that we're not in control of our lives. That sounds very like, I don't know, it sounds negative, but I'm trying to feel into how to articulate that a little bit better. But so so you can see how pain would be the catalyst of it, and then God works in mysterious ways. Everybody's experience is different, and you arrive, you suffer differently. So that's another reason why it's so important to share vulnerably with others, because you can feel somebody else's pain even though you haven't been through that, just as much as you can see yourself in the same situation that another might be facing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that was like that was my process throughout my life too. It was like I kind of like what you said. It's like I didn't push God away, but it just wasn't like
It didn't need to be important.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be.
But did you have a higher power that you thought about in life that was like
Maybe the Buffalo Bills?
there you go.
Just
Hey, it's different from
honestly,
everybody.
like, you know, what you spend your time doing is what you worship,
Yeah.
right? So I was, and not that that's a bad thing, but I,
Yeah.
you know, I have these discussions with my friends about watching professional sports and all that.
Mhm.
But it's the things that it's the glamour of the life that we see other people leading, and that's why social media is so encapturing or encapsulating, because we see things that we think we want that other people have.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes that journey to go get those things and realize, you know, that was part of my journey too. I was successful financially with 2 different companies, and something was missing. I was unfulfilled. So that led me to seek a higher purpose with what I was doing, spending my time doing.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think the thing that started the men's group, that when I first did it with a few years ago with just like 4 friends, was the book No More Mr. Nice Guy. So it was like
I read that, yeah.
it's perfect, and I recommend any men to read that if you feel like you have nice guys.
Recommendation on the podcast.
There we go. Yeah. No More. It's so funny. That's like full circle for me. A full completion point of being able to start this group and then recommend that book again. It's so funny because that is what started it all for me. And I was my higher power growing up, because if anyone's familiar with my story, my childhood, I went through very severe trauma. And so I think I was very worshiping positivity. It was like the I need to be positive at all costs.
Uh,
Like everything, like I was experiencing this intense trauma as a child, like as a baby before I could even talk, all the way up, through 10, 12 years old. And so I was learning to bottle things up. I was like,
mm,
no, I'll be positive. And so little did I know that was just creating this severed connection of like my anger and
mm,
of all the rage that I had towards God that I've really had to release, and I've had to be very direct with God, and with when you develop that relationship with the source, the frequency, it's like you're communicating with it, and
mhm,
it's like I've gotten very clear of like what the fuck, like this, like how fucking could you, like throwing shit. I broke my phone from throwing it, like,
mm,
and it was like I needed to experience that in
yeah,
order to get through onto the other side. And I was completely I was imbalanced away from anger, away from what people would deem as being healthy masculine embodied. I
mm,
wasn't martial arts and self-defense and things like that wasn't really like a part of
mm.
my process. And so I ended up going through that, and I ended up kind of it's like I feel like I got my mojo back. It's like Austin Powers, literally, like I got my mojo back.
Yeah,
And I think that like the pain points is what are always going to take you to God. And God is then going to be recognized at that as that pain as well, but you're not going to hold on to that pain. But I think I was just going, so like that's the core of what the men's group is, I think,
yeah,
for solos. And also outside of the men's group, very simple. We're talking about human trafficking. We talk about that stuff. And it's like if we start a human trafficking organization and we do different groups, it's like that's all related to a masculine level of embodiment and of pain and of people going through pain
yeah,
to find that shared trauma and that shared unity, like within the shared pain itself. And
right,
so I think once we can step into that and express it, let it be seen, then that's where spaces can be created for that pain to
yes.
to be healed, I guess.
Just for the record, when you talk about creating human trafficking organizations, it'd be combating human trafficking. We just want to make that clear.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. I just need to change some notes on my thing real quick. Yes, it would be combating human trafficking. Um, and also on top of that, like what you just did, you just made a joke about something heavy, and that is important. Like that's a big aspect that we're going into as well, as
Yeah.
like pain is healed through many ways, and it's not just sharing vulnerably and being sad together and doing this. It's like
Mm,
the joke, the humor, the comedy, the art, the expression of all of that
mm,
is what is really coming into this space, and the integrity of what I think Solos is.
yeah.
100%. We've been talking for a while.
This is good. Like,
This has
how long
been
do we want to
great.
go here?
We can go for another like 10 minutes,
Okay.
20 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I
That
want
would
to
be about an hour.
make a quick comment on what you
Yeah.
said about pain, then we can go wherever
Yeah.
we want to wrap up here. But um, this is kind of weaving the last couple questions and topics together. But
Mhm.
what has changed for me now is that pain doesn't need to be the catalyst for me anymore.
Yes.
The devotion sticks, and I've learned to have a practice now. Not learned it, but I want to
Mhm.
convene and commune more with God. So that comes in through prayer, through journaling, through just sacred quiet time to like
Mhm.
listen and receive too.
Mhm.
And that feels good. It's like
Yes.
that needs to be my life, and it
Yeah.
needs to be a part of it, if not all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's a really important point because I think men can also get really attached to pain, and pain being their
Mm,
catalyst. And the discipline, the rigidness, the if I feel like a bitch, I'm gonna make myself work out for 90
yeah.
minutes hardcore. Like, and that might be the move sometimes. Like it might be like, oh, let me push through this so I can like really force this. But from what I have found over the last few years going through the deep, deep trauma healing, rest is my MO.
Mm,
Like I am in rest and relaxation at all times. And when I need to move, when I need to, I will. But the health of my body, the vitality of it, like it has increased tenfold from me being devoted to the energetic balance first and then allowing things to come out from there. Because what I realized was that, like, I was very going to the gym for, like you're saying, why do we want to connect with people? Why do we want to be in this group? Why do we want to get this high from being around people? It's like, from the way that I looked after going to the gym, from the way that, like, I would like the validation, the thinking
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm getting stronger from this, like I can protect myself better,
Mm.
like, but there's all these reframings that had to happen of like what is power and what is like the pain I'm willing to put myself through
Mm.
to either feel powerless or to give myself this sense of like having that power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other side of that is that it's already here. And so
Mm-hmm.
just that lens change is that
Mm-hmm.
my role is to get it to allow it to emerge
Yes.
instead of having to work out
Yeah.
to build the muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the muscle of sovereignty because that's the freedom, that's the power. It's like being able to choose what your heart needs in that exact moment.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of pushing yourself to go into this thing to be physically, shook, it's like you realize that this is a trauma story coming from childhood where you thought you needed to do this over and over. And then in that moment, you can look at yourself and say, hey, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We can lay down for an hour and we don't have to do this.
And it feels
And it can
better.
be okay.
Yeah.
And that first part of laying down is fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I just had to do it this morning. I got up, had my alarm set all early. It was like I slept like shit, got up, and I was really groggy. And I was like, I need to go lay down again for an hour.
Mm.
And it was every part of my body was like, nope, go get the caffeine. You need to start doing this. You need to start doing this. And it was like, no, I'm laying down. And in like 10 minutes, it was like a struggle. It was like, my body trying to get up, trying to go do this thing. And then after about 15 minutes, I pushed through the sweet spot and it was like,
Mm.
and it just chilled. It just relaxed. And so that's the masculine function of discipline too, I think, is what are you devoted to actually? And then being disciplined with that function of that devotion.
Yeah, interesting, because there's even a devotion to the discipline of being still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what I really went into that space. And I didn't do it at the beginning, like I wasn't doing 20-minute meditations every day. I did 3-minute meditations for a week, and then I would go up to a 5-minute meditation, and I would do a 5-minute meditation and slowly go up and slowly do more. But that devotional process was like building in that space, and I was showing myself I don't have to have this ideal right away. Like we do want to know what the ideal is and be able to eventually get to that, but we got to work ourselves into that ideal, and we can take step-by-step processes to do that rather than the masculine function of let me just throw myself into the shit right away and get all of it done. Right.
Speaks to that law of rhythm.
Yes, exactly.
Repetition, doing things over and having it build.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
All right, so how do we want to wrap here? What did we not hit that we want to make
So
clear?
I think really it's just like kind of posing a question of the palindrome of solos and what that could mean to people, because we're going to start writing down different variations of what that means. Like, for example, souls of love of sovereignty. That is one one aspect of it. But the process, the reason for this is because we're going to get a lot of different interpretations of what this could be from many different people. And so it's like, start if you're listening to this, even if you're not joining the men's group or anything like that, like start thinking of what solos means to you, SOLOS, and what pops up, because there's the word science was coming up a lot as you were talking, and how that could fit in there, the science of love, of spirituality. Like there's so many different things that could and we could just bounce around. And so I think the proposition is, what does that frequency mean to you who is receiving it and to us and the SOLOS? And we don't have to have a definitive variation of that to end the episode, but I think it's just more putting that out there. What are the intentions that come with that? What is the intention of the solos being built and being brought back into our world?
Yeah. I'm not sure I have any commentary on that,
Yeah.
or I want to share an answer quite yet because I want to brainstorm on that. But
Same.
I like the
Same.
way that it's built and that there's this flexibility that comes with it, and also that
Mm-hmm.
we're like crowdsourcing,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the whole point.
Yes.
This is you're able to plug into the architecture of this thing,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and it's going to take different perspectives to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the combination of all perspectives into one that. And I'm seeing it like a 3D symbol now, which is
Mm-hmm.
cool, like a sphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I see as the soul, SOL. It's just like a white sphere,
Right.
basically.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Love it.
This is
Well,
fun.
that feels complete on my end. Um, are
How about any questions for each other? Like any personal stuff or
well, the last one that I have is um, what are your main fears around building teams with men,
ooh,
if you have any?
sure, I'm sure that I
Yeah.
do. I think for me, being seen as a leader or just the whatever comes along with perception of as a leader,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like this is putting the call out for leaders to lead.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's a leader in the sense of it, but for whatever reason, you and I are like the ones that are building it out. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit of pressure with that, or like I can get ahead of myself with yeah, uh, like scenarios that I might not be comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Can you describe one of those scenarios?
Yeah. So I think what I'm referencing is events that I've been to, and I'm just picturing myself running it, and
Mm-hmm.
just the precision with which, at least my experience, the people running it operated it as,
Okay,
and
got
I
it.
had a great experience with it. So like the
Mm-hmm.
pressure of those people even being on top of their game, so
Yes,
to
the
speak.
standard that you
Right.
feel has been set, the bar.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's part of being a man and being our
Exactly.
masculine competition and polarity. It's like we're in a little bit of competition with ourselves. It's healthy, but we do have to recognize where the bar has been set
Yeah.
and then trust that there's a reason why we're being called to maybe raise that bar even more or just add another bar because we got to have these levels of bars
Right.
too, right? So it's
Yeah.
like we don't just want to go up and up and up and up and up,
Right.
but it's like we want to add more to it. And so I think that's great.
So
That's
same
great.
question for you. Fears.
Yeah, I think for me it's like it's a I'm really feeling a lot of dissipation from these kind of narratives that I've had stepping in
Mm.
to these places over the last couple years and stepping in now because I just feel so comfortable with you. But I think it's like just the trust aspect.
Mm.
And there used to be a lot of like making sure that men can trust me, that I'm a trustworthy person,
Yeah.
and that coincidentally that is then what's caused me to dim myself in the past, to not make jokes, to not be direct, to not use this tone, to be scared that if I am this way that the person's gonna be like, oh well, what the fuck, like, or like you coming out here and seeing that like I am not waking up at 9 o'clock and having this like specific schedule. Like it's like I'm in my own rhythm and I
Yeah.
have it and so it's the fear of like it's like the trustworthiness
Yeah.
of like feeling like even if I put my fullest capacity in that there could still be people who like recognize that as untrustworthy.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. And like you said, there's a reason and purpose for this being brought up for both of us.
Yeah. And it's like the weakness is the strength. That's always what's happening. Like
Right.
the fear that you hold the strongest is because you are so strong in that space.
Right.
And it's the same thing with everybody.
Yeah.
Same thing with everybody.
Right. Yeah. Just different versions of the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that they fear the most is usually the thing that they're the strongest at.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good question to model
Mhm.
out front that even
Mhm.
even who's building it or the perceived leader, there's always fears, there's always
Yeah.
stuff that's coming up. But
Yeah.
it's just that they've
Yeah.
learned how to deal with it
To
or
manage
face
it and
it.
not let that fear be the driver. And I
Right.
think that's the new world that we're building. Because by the time this comes out, we'll have posted our blog. We have a blog that is up. We're going to be,
Should we
promoting it.
plug that right now? So where can they find the blog?
Yeah, the blog is on our Substack. So we'll have the Substack links in the description of this wherever we upload it.
There we go.
And our Substack is We Are Solos. Spelled exactly how it sounds. And so we'll have that in the description. And that is about building what we just talked about, the building of everything, the build what Solos is as we're building this and as it's kind of building us, I guess, is what it is. And I just lost where I was going with that. Oh, the fears. And I think that at the core of it, we want to use that definition of God as no fear. That's very simple. God is the reality that exists where fear is gone.
Yeah.
There is zero fear. And that doesn't mean that people who are perceiving fear are not of God, but it means they're choosing to live in a reality that is the distorted definition. That God is no fear. And so while we can acknowledge what our fears are, we're doing that so we can recognize that the trying to stop that fear isn't the thing that's driving us anymore. That's not the pain point anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we get to become embodied in the fear.
Yeah.
It's not even that there's no fear. It's like we have all the fear.
Yeah.
We've integrated the fear.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there's no, because it's just our relationship with things. It's just, oh, this potential might create fear for somebody, but for somebody else, it's not creating that fear at all.
Right.
So it's just the relationship we have with
Right.
all of that. And so it's then about finding how all relationships we have can exist without fear being the control,
Right.
I guess.
Whew.
We could keep going
That's
forever.
exactly,
I think that's a perfect place to stop.
Beautiful.
Perfect place to stop. But yeah, we'll have the links all in the stuff. And thank you for jumping on,
Peace.
everybody.